What's up guys, Sean Don is back for part 3 of this series on fasting. In this episode, I'm going over my results and interpreting them so you guys can understand what happened with my body. That's right, like I said, I already did the fast. I'm filming this on the Monday after the day I broke my fast, which was yesterday on Sunday. I've been eating for 24 hours. So now I can go over the results and show you guys from start to finish how things went. Starting off with my weight. So yeah, so before I left for this past trip to Europe, I was weighing anywhere from 253 to about 257 pounds on any given day. Upon returning to Ohio, I weighed myself Tuesday morning. It's 256.1 pounds on the scale here. Pretty much typical for how much I'd been eating and very similar to how much I was weighing before I went to Europe. So that's the starting weight, 256.1, and then I'll post the my weight loss chart here so you guys can see. And then yeah, I finished the fast. Believe this, and this is what blew my mind. I mean, you guys already saw the title, so it doesn't matter. I finished the fast at 240.6 pounds. That's right, 15.5 pounds lost over 5 days of not eating, just drinking water and a little bit of salt. I thought that was crazy because I was expecting to maybe lose 8 to 10 pounds. That was it, not a whole 15. That's crazy. And yeah, so I took some before and after pictures, which I will post over this screen right here that you're looking at, hopefully right now. 15 pounds down, definitely was less bloated. You can't really tell from these pictures. Maybe slightly leaner and maybe slightly flatter as well. It's more of a bodybuilding term, excuse me. So like I said, I wasn't too worried about the changes in body composition. I just wanted to do it pre and post just for the sake of the science, I guess. And yeah, like I said, for like the 8th time in this video, the fasting is not about the body composition or getting shredded directly. Like I said, don't fast just to lose weight, don't fast to look better. You're doing it wrong. And for those of you who are wondering how I lost so much weight, let's do a little science equation for you.
Science! Left, right. Yes, science!
So, the average pound of fat is worth about 3,500 calories, which means it takes about 3,500 calories to burn a pound of fat off of your body. And let's say if my basal metabolic rate, which means how much energy that I'm burning per day doing no exercise, pretty much just laying in bed awake, I'd burn about 2,300 calories based on my body weight and height and size and muscle mass and all that stuff. And if I didn't eat for 5 days, what was it, 2,300 times 5 is 11,500 calories, which means I was in a caloric deficit of 11,500 calories, which is kind of a lot. You take that calorie deficit count, 11,500 divided by 3,500, that comes out to what? About maybe 3 pounds of fat. So let's say if I lived in a perfect world where I only lost fat during the fast, I would have only lost 3 pounds of fat, and that's it. It's really not much at all. So where'd the other theoretically 12 pounds come from? Well, like I said, water is a big thing. Maybe my guts cleared out a little bit more, which sounds weird. My guts, ugh. I lost a good amount of bloat in the stomach. And then on top of that, maybe some muscle glycogen. Well, I would say definitely muscle glycogen. If I recall correctly from my undergraduate days, I think somebody about my size will store anywhere from 300 to 500 grams of carbohydrates in their muscle, aka glycogen. So if I lost all of that muscle glycogen and all of the associated water, that would be 1 pound of glycogen about. And then I think it's like for every 1 molecule of carbohydrates, you store about 3 to 4 molecules of water. So that's another 4 to 5 pounds of water, I guess you could say. And then, so yeah, and then the rest was probably some muscle or some other soft tissue or lean tissue that my body decided to get rid of through the process of autophagy. Like I said, it's not all fat, so that's why I'm not shredded. In hindsight, I think it would have been cool to get my body composition checked pre and post fast to note the differences in body fat and lean body mass and all that stuff, but oh well, that's for next time. I didn't really think about it. I didn't really have opportunity to do so either. Being here in Ohio, up near Cleveland, I don't have any access to that sort of stuff. Moving on. So, during the fast, I did take blood measurements of blood glucose and blood ketones. So what did I track this stuff with to start off with? I purchased a Precision Extra blood glucose and blood ketone monitor. It was a little expensive, but I found it necessary to make sure that I tracked all this stuff appropriately to make sure that I was actually in a state of nutritional ketosis. Like I said, this is the first year that I've actually used a monitor of any kind to track my ketosis during the off season. And yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I was certain because I really take this stuff seriously now and wanted to make sure that I did it as perfect as possible to make sure I stayed in a ketogenic state. Like I said, it's not a necessary item for doing a ketogenic diet, but it definitely does help out. So the blood test results, once again, I will try to post the results over here with some graphs and charts, and you guys probably don't know what any of it means, but I'll explain it. So yeah, to start off, pre-test blood measurements. A couple times this year through the Olympic Training Center, we did some blood work and I got my blood glucose checked, and typically my fasting blood glucose is mid to high 90s, which is technically normal. But over 100 is considered pre-diabetic, and then over 120 on 2 different occasions is considered diabetic. So to be in that like mid 90 range for me was a little uncomfortable because, you know, how many more months of eating like a bag of shit until I'm over that 100 range and I'm pre-diabetic. So like I said, my fasting blood glucose when I last got it checked was actually 98 milligrams per deciliter. Diabetes does sort of run in my family, so I felt like this would be a good experiment to kind of help deter that from coming to fruition in my own life. And especially with the way that I eat when I'm training and what most people would typically eat during an off season, I feel like that this was a good experiment to try out to, like I said, limit the potential for getting diabetes. So yeah, so like I said, all the data collection is over here. Yeah, I measure it every morning when I woke up around 7 to 8 p.m. Not always, but 7 to 8 a.m. That's right. As you can see, pretty much as fasting continued, my morning blood glucose would drop. It would get lower as the days went on, or as the hours went on. And then kind of did the opposite for ketones. My ketones rose as the fasting continued, which is exactly what I expected. I was in light nutritional ketosis by about day 3 with, I think it was like 1.5 millimolar. And then I was like full bore into that sort of therapeutic range on days 4 and 5 when I was over 2.0 millimolar and even up to 3.3 on the morning of day 5. That's where I hope to stay for the next 6 weeks in an effort to become more metabolically flexible and fat adapted. As for the glucose ketone index, which is the very far right, I think, of the graph, that measure is been regarded as a measure of your overall metabolic health. I believe Dr. Thomas Seyfried is the guy who's a big proponent of measuring your glucose ketone index, and I think he's big into researching fasting and ketogenic diets and its effects on cancer. And yeah, I think he recommends keeping your glucose ketone index somewhere between 0.7 all the way up to 2 in an effort to kind of optimize your metabolic health, help prevent or reduce the risks of cancer. So, food for thought. Pretty much, I guess the idea behind it is that cancer cells thrive on glucose, so it kind of makes sense to help starve those cells of their main fuel source, you know, when less glucose is around and more ketones are around. I don't know, just I think that's still pretty experimental, just something to keep in mind for your own future health. Or my overall experience with fasting. So yeah, on my new website, www.seandonnelly.biz, I'll post a blog with all of my daily notes and how I was feeling and my overall thoughts on this experiment. So go check that out. It's linked below in the description. And yeah, check it out. It's a lot more in-depth. So yeah, so day by day breakdown. So yeah, how did I break the fast? This is probably one of the biggest parts of fasting. That's why I said don't just rush into this and don't just start doing a fast just because you want to. Do the research and figure out why and how to fast and how to break a fast. Yeah, so most people would think that it's okay to just start eating a normal diet again, but like that's like the last thing you want to do. That can really mess your gut up and sideline you for a couple days at the very least. After all, you haven't eaten in 120 hours, so all your digestive processes have pretty much shut down. So it's important to start slow and work your way up in level of difficulty of digestibility of foods when sort of breaking a fast. So like for me, I started with a bone broth tea around 4:30, so technically that broke my fast, but I didn't eat my first meal until 6 p.m., so broke my fast at 118 and a half hours as opposed to 120. Oh well. But yeah, started with a bone broth tea consisting of bone broth, obviously, apple cider vinegar, lemon, and cinnamon to kind of get the digestive juices flowing a little bit and make sure that I didn't just plow my intestines with some solid food. And after 5 days of fasting, it did taste actually pretty good. I wasn't sure how the bone broth was going to turn out. It was my first time making it, but even by itself, it was like a light kind of soup broth. And then mixing all the other stuff in, especially the cinnamon, helped out the taste. And then after that, I had 2 more meals that night, one at 6 p.m. and like one at like 8:30ish. 2 meals consisting of, you know, a small portion of protein, like 4 to 6 ounces, a decent bit of vegetables and some fats in the form of like olive oil or avocado, and then like just a little bit of sauerkraut to kind of start each meal off to help once again digestion and repopulate my gut microbiome. The chicken, that first meal was pretty rough. I think I either ate too much or I ate a bad avocado because like an hour afterwards, I had diarrhea. I almost shit my pants. It was great. Either way, I was just happy to be eating again. And then yeah, the second meal, the salmon and asparagus went down like super smooth, and that actually like calmed my stomach a little bit. Probably should have started with that, but live and learn. And yeah, and then like after that second meal, I could feel my body almost shift from like a sympathetic state, which has been pretty much what I've been in the past 5 days, to a parasympathetic rest and digest sort of state. And like immediately, I wouldn't say like got tired in a bad way, but like I was like, all right, I'm ready for bed, I'm ready to rest. And that night I went on to sleep like 11 hours, so that was great. So my overall experience with the fast. Overall, the whole experiment was really cool to try out. It's something that I've been looking forward to for about 2-3 months now. So yeah, the fast wasn't easy by any means, but testing myself mentally like that was something that I think will pay dividends down the road. Even outside of that, in a physical state, I feel like I could feel my body kind of repairing my nagging injuries. You know, whether it's my lower back, that's usually my main problem area, and then like my left ankle a little bit. I felt like those were getting repaired and finally recovering after a long season of training, since so much time and energy wasn't being spent digesting food, which is, you know, kind of cool and kind of ass backwards if you think about it. You know, like if you're not eating food, why would your body recover? But in some weird way, like I said, the autophagy process, that's kind of what happens. Either way, feeling prime, physically, mentally. And like I said earlier, I think learning to become comfortable being uncomfortable, very cliche, but it's a skill that I think every athlete needs to learn at some point in their career to be successful, especially at the highest level. And I think this fasting was just kind of one of many ways to achieve that. So yeah, the fast itself was kind of a big test on its own, but after speaking with Dane Miller, he kind of brought it to my attention that this is just kind of the start, and the real test kind of comes over the next 2 months or so. So like I said, I'm going to stick to a ketogenic diet for, I think I have planned the next 6 weeks, or now it's 5 weeks. That first week technically counted, I guess. So a strict ketogenic diet for the next 5 weeks, where I want to maintain that ketotic state of, you know, ketones being over 2 millimolar. And then additionally, I'm combining that ketogenic diet with an elimination diet in the hopes of healing my gut even more, which is really the whole goal of this off season. And really this next year is to kind of get my diet right, get my gut right. And like I said, the fast was just step 1. So yeah, so after following the strict keto sort of elimination diet for the next 2 weeks, which is pretty much just consisting of like chicken, turkey, fish, and vegetables, and some fats like coconut oil, avocado, olive oil. That's pretty much it. It's literally like meat, vegetables, and some fats, and that's it. Very, very, like no nuts, no milk, no gluten, no eggs. I'm missing out on a lot of stuff, but you know, I think if you told me that, you know, if I do this diet and I'll throw 0.1% farther, I could do that. I would do that. Follow this diet for 2 weeks and become much better off down the road. I think that's the goal, and that's why I don't have a problem sticking to it. But yeah, so after these next 2 weeks of this strict diet, then I'll start reintroducing foods back in that I have already removed. So pretty much the point of that introduction period is to figure out what sort of food allergies or food intolerances I have that I haven't really known I've had. Because let's be real, I've been eating the same sort of diet for damn near 25 years. Your body kind of builds up your immune system to handle those intolerances or those allergies. So yeah, this is kind of my way to step back and give my body a break, give my immune system a break, and see how I can better myself. That's going to be the really hard part, because I have to keep eating the way I'm eating now, but then slowly introduce foods. So like I said, this is going to be like an 8 to 9 week process. I'll explain that process more in another video, probably along with healing my gut and all that stuff, since that's like a very in-depth topic. Alright, that pretty much wraps everything up, I think. If you guys have any questions about fasting or what I'm doing with my diet, comment down below and I'll be sure to answer. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, like it, subscribe if you haven't already, and then yeah, and then share the video. Yeah, share the video if you found any sort of value in it. Help me out. I appreciate it. Give me some views. Give me some subscribers. Give me some likes. I would appreciate it. I would appreciate it. Yeah, so thanks for tuning in. Peace out. Until next time, like I said, look out for a season recap video sometime next week, and then yeah, go to my website, www.seandonnelly.biz. Check out the blog post that is hopefully out by the time I post this video on my fasting experience more in depth and blah blah blah. So, all right, until next time.